Hey friends, this is Jordan with O&Co Games. My team of three, Ray, Noah, and myself are making a pixel platformer that is centered around satisfying levels of difficulty and compelling characters in a consciously crafted story. The game is called Tethergeist. You can wishlist it on Steam with the link below, and welcome to our devlog. In my last devlog, I talked a lot about how important it is to generate a strong first impression of our game with players. The devlog specifically focused on movement mechanics and getting May, our main character, to feel controlled and responsive. But of course, there are many more things that factor into a first impression. One of the big ones we noticed was that our game's onboarding experience wasn't quite achieving what we wanted it to achieve. That is, we didn't have enough gameplay before the player was sent into story and cutscenes. So in this devlog, I'll be talking about what we did to make those first 10 minutes of gameplay truly exciting and indicative of the kind of experience players can expect as the game progresses. Now, I'll be totally honest, I'm a bit behind on some of my self-imposed deadlines with this game, so I'm going to keep this devlog short and sweet so I can get back to developing. I just also want to make sure I'm staying consistent with updating you guys on our progress, and honestly, this update is a pretty big change. As I mentioned earlier, our original game flow just didn't have enough gameplay in the first 10 minutes of the game. We had a pretty solid tutorial section that did a great job teaching the game's mechanics, but it was too short. Players only got about 3 to 5 minutes of gameplay in that section before we sent them to May's hometown for the more story-rich and dialogue-centric section. Don't get me wrong, I'm really happy with how the village is coming along, and I think there's tons of value to the lore and world building we're establishing here. We just didn't feel good throwing players into this section so quickly. So using the tutorial section as a sort of skeleton, I went in and built out several more obstacles between each teaching section. For example, after the player learns how the nectar works to make spirit projections, I added more platforming where the player can apply what they just learned. After the section where we introduced the platforms that activate when the spirit is present, I added significantly more obstacles that leverage the platforms. It honestly just feels so much better like this. We're not only adding more gameplay to the very beginning of the game, but we're also helping players to really internalize the mechanics we're trying to teach them. In the playtests we've conducted on this section, we found players are having more fun and they're getting significantly more gameplay in before we introduced the story points found in the village. Now, obviously, these are all still wireframes and are subject to change, but in general, we're feeling really good about this direction. It's frustrating to me when I install a new game and the first 15 minutes of it is just story points and cutscenes. I've played some games where after 30 minutes, I feel like I've only cumulatively played for 5 minutes because I'm forced to chat with characters I haven't had time to start caring about. Tethergeist doesn't need to be this way. The controls are honestly super simple, and we want players to get right into playing when the game begins. Yes, we want a story-rich experience, and we plan to introduce more and more story points as the player is given more time to experience the gameplay and more time to care about the characters and how their stories are going to unfold. Anyway, I said I'd keep it brief, and that's what I plan to do. We'll be set dressing this new introduction section very soon with really nice pixel art once we've conducted a sufficient amount of playtests, and we'll hopefully be seeing just a more satisfying onboarding experience than we had before. We care deeply about this game, and we want it to be the best experience it possibly can be for our players. Tethergeist is something you're interested in playing, we'd be honored to have you head over to Steam and wishlist it. And if you want to follow along on our progress, please subscribe here to our channel, and we also have a Discord server where you can chat directly with us and our community. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.